This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome in to another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow. We are your hosts. You can call me Truck. I'm joined as always by Kulz and Shane O'Mac. You can find us on Twitter at fantasy_trucker, at Kulz_sports, at smccormick_ff. While you're at it, follow the show at Fantasy Roadshow. We are live on all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We're there at Fantasy Roadshow. Go find us, check out all the content, and we appreciate it. This episode is brought to you by Rule One Proteins. Go to www.rule1proteins.com. On there, you can find all the great proteins and supplements, multivitamins you need if you're looking to get back in the gym or just re-up your supplement game. They're the best in the business. Go check them out. Boys, how we doing?
That was good.
Yeah. You like it?
Very nice. Very nice.
That's good.
Working on it. What's going on?
Yeah, nothing. It is like 60s, 70 in Austin. So hopefully the winter is behind us.
Wow.
Got below freezing one time. So doing a lot better this winter than last 5 in Chicago.
Did the whole city just freak out when it did?
No, but like people were preparing because of the freeze a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So people like were going to the stores and emptying the shelves kind of thing. But I mean, it wasn't bad.
Yeah. Shane, I would be remiss not to mention you do sound a little different today. You feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm battling the vid. Jaxon Mac had it all week, and so I may be next to fall, but it's all right. It's my Jordan flu game right now. So.
Okay, all right. I like it. Well, I hope you feel better, and we'll try to get through this without you talking too much. But we appreciate all your input as always.
If this is going to be a flu game, then I might take your rankings word for word for my rankings next year.
That's a good point. But yeah, we are here today talking way too early 2024 wide receiver rankings. And I'll be honest with you guys, this is the one I was most excited about doing out of all the position groups. I feel like this is probably going to have the most discrepancies. I would just guess. I haven't seen either of yours rankings, and I'm kind of curious. So, Kulz, why don't you go ahead and pull them up when you have a moment?
Wait. Before we get there, let's talk coaching carousel.
That's right. We got some updates, didn't we?
Quite a few big ones today. Keenan to the Panthers, and Raheem Morris to the Falcons. Just quick thoughts. Like, I really like Keenan. I think what he did with that Bucs offense this year is pretty amazing with Baker in there. We knew Baker's a gunslinger and they have some weapons on offense, but I don't think anyone, expected them to be a playoff team. Never mind, put up the numbers that Baker did put up. So he's a young offensive minded coach. All the talk and hype is around Ben Johnson, but I love what Keenan did there. So I'm sure he went to the interview process and wowed him and won himself a head coaching job. So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts with Keenan?
For me, Keenan, first-time head coach, going to a tough spot to coach in with their owner Tepper over there, or is that Tepper, right? Or is he the
Tepper?
Yeah, Tepper. He has a very high turnover rate for coaches. So you got a first-time head coach, and that's a tough spot to be in. But hopefully they got the right guy, and we see a turnaround from them. But I don't know too much about him. I got to do a little bit more deep diving, but just right off the bat, I'm worried for him with Tepper being such a hothead.
The only reason Tepper's turnover rate is so high is because he's only owned the team for a very brief period.
What I'm speaking about, he also owns a soccer team, and he's fired a lot of soccer coaches as well. He's shown over the last 5 years, he's fired the most coaches out of any owner in any league across all those teams. So he seems to have a short leash for coaches.
Idiot. He's too involved. He's an idiot.
Exactly.
Thinks he's smarter than he is just because he made money. I don't know what he made money doing, but I'm sure
very rich. Very, very
sure
rich.
He was great. However, he made his money, but that doesn't translate to football. So
yeah. Shane, what do you think?
Yeah, it'll be interesting because now you can start putting pieces together. And you got Mike Evans, a free agent. And does that one of his first things he does is try to convince the GM to make that one of the big free agent acquisitions there in Carolina?
I mean, that would be a great idea. That'd be a great move.
And by GM, you mean David Tepper. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, apparently, Bryce Young's still a good quarterback. Like, yeah, his rookie year didn't, blow expectations like CJ Stroud did, but it's just he is a good quarterback. Like, he's going to have a good career.
Yeah.
So like, Canales probably thinks a young, I don't know. I would never want to play for an owner like that or coach for an owner, work under an owner like that. But
yeah,
I think he's a smart young coach and sees opportunity in working with a Bryce Young. So we'll see. And then Ricky Morris, like, I think he's an awesome coach also.
Yeah, this is the one that surprised me the most. I thought for sure Bill Belichick was going to Atlanta with how many times he interviewed over there with his, resume and everything. And instead they go with Raheem Morris, who was actually their interim head coach a couple of years ago. Do you guys remember that before? What's his name? That was just there. I can't think of his name right now. I'm just completely erasing him. Arthur Smith. Yeah. Before Arthur Smith, Raheem Morris was their interim head coach.
Yeah. I didn't know he was interim. I know he was a head coach for a brief period. I think 3 years?
3 years. Yep.
Yeah. So I know he's had a quick stint. I do like him though. He's young. He's clearly has, is a good defensive minded coach. I'm sure he learned a lot from his last run as a head coach, but I think that he, has been a part of winning young competitive coaching trees. He was over there with the Redskins. All those head coaches for the Redskins, they're just all McVay, Shanahan, was it Jay Gruden that was there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jay Gruden, Matt LaFleur, that whole Mike McDaniel, that whole coaching tree is just like hot. So I like him with the Falcons, and then we'll see what happens at OC. That's going to be really like what we're talking here, fantasy football. That's going to be huge to see who lands there.
Yeah, definitely. And then what about the biggest one, Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers?
Yeah, that's right. Harbaugh was yesterday? That's huge. I think we'll see what happens with Kellen Moore. Does he stay there? Does Harbaugh bring in all of his guys? That's interesting. So could you imagine a Kellen Moore, Justin Fields and Kellen Moore going to the Falcons, or Kirk Cousins and Kellen Moore going to the Falcons, and just being able to be creative with that many weapons? That's going to be, a huge, I think just huge for the fantasy outlook of what are the Falcons weapons able to do this next year. I have Drake London in my top 15, being hopeful that it's a good landing spot. So there's a teaser.
That is very hopeful. I don't even think he's in my top 36, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get into all that. We will. We'll talk more about it. So I think that's all the coaching changes as of right now, right?
Yep, just two left.
Yeah, what are the vacancies right now? What are the two teams?
Commanders is left, and we have why am I blanking on the other one?
Seahawks.
Seahawks, thanks. Yeah.
Yes.
Seahawks.
Yeah, those are the two that are left. So we'll see what happens. We still got some more info. But I think we'll do a final an episode, I'm sure, on the final landing spots of all the coaches and the fantasy impact a little bit further in detail.
Seahawks.
Yeah. All right. Now, without further ado, let's get into these wide receiver rankings. Kulz, go ahead and pull that up when you have a minute.
It's pulled. Yeah. At the end of the episode, let's talk about the games this weekend too. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So right off the bat, we're taking a look at the top. I'd say the top 4, top 5. Let's just talk about that real quick. Mike and I both have Jamar Chase at number 1 overall. Shane, you have CeeDee Lamb, shocker, at number 1 overall, but we have him at 2. No big deal. You have Tyreek Hill the highest at 2. I have him at 3. Mike at 4. And then Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, AJ Brown. What do you guys see in the top 5? Who do you think we should mention there?
I think you can probably say the top 6 is going to be pretty consistent in that bucket of players. So, this is way too early and there's so much information we don't have, and it's going to be, a huge difference come next year. But those 6, I think, will remain pretty constant.
Yeah, we have the top 4 in all 3 of ours are all the same 4 players. And to me, those 4 are kind of interchangeable. I could see an argument for any one of those 4 being the number 1 overall, and I would be totally fine with it. Outside of that, I feel like there would be an argument on from my part as to why they should not be number 1 overall. But yeah, I think those first 4 are definitely in a tier of their own. What do you think?
And I think like maybe everyone's going to have it, but I mean, it's Chase over Jefferson, unlike last year, is definitely the correct call if you're debating those 2.
Yeah, and that obviously has to do with the quarterback, right? We got a Joe Burrow coming back. He's going to be fully healthy by the time next season starts. And Jefferson, for me, that's why I put him at 4, is because who's going to be the quarterback? We don't know. If Kirk is coming back, I'll probably move him up because Kirk and Jefferson have shown to be an elite combo there. But if it's not, like that's just a big question mark. So I'm sure he'll move based on that decision.
Yeah, I put Jefferson at 3 just because I think that I think that Kirk will be there. Like, I just don't. What else are they going to do? Trade up and maybe draft someone?
Yeah,
but like,
I don't know.
That they're stuck in limbo. They were last season. I thought, obviously they before the injury they're playing better than I personally thought, but. I think they're in that just limbo, can't win a championship, can't make the playoffs. Although now you have the Lions, you have the Bears, presumably the Packers are obviously, that division's becoming more and more competitive and they're kind of falling behind a little bit. So if you're the Vikings, you either blow it all up or you run it back with Kirk. So I think they're going to run it back with Kirk, try to keep Justin Jefferson happy. And maybe add another, Addison will be a stud next year, and maybe try to add Saquon, not that they're going to, but a Derrick Henry, someone to just try to pump some life into the offense and, put them over the edge, which I don't know that they will, but anyways.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps them, and that would put them in the conversation for, winners of the division potentially if they were to upgrade their running back situation, bring back Kirk. Addison's great. Hawkinson's going to be great. So, yeah,
that division's going to be up for grabs regardless of what happens this offseason. Yeah, there's nothing that won't make that division up for grabs. I just think they're all trending in the right direction, and none of the teams are like way better than the other. Obviously, you have the Lions playing this weekend in the NFC Championship, but they're they got their ass kicked almost twice by the Bears. They got their ass kicked by the Packers. They're not better than anyone in that division. So
that's a very good point. Very good point. All right. Well, how about after that, Shane, you have Puka Nacua at 6. He was someone I'd be really curious to see what was going on with everybody's rankings. Mike, you have Puka down at 12. I have him at 7, so very similar to Shane. So, Mike, I guess why don't you go ahead and tell us about Puka, why you have him outside the top 10?
I don't necessarily think that's a bad ranking for Puka. I think you guys are like putting him probably close to his ceiling, which is fine. Like, I have AJ Brown there who might not be on the Eagles. I go strictly talent, as I've said in the past way too early. Like DK Metcalf, I don't know who's going to be his quarterback, but I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I think his just physical dominance that he's proved year after year is real. So that's why I have those guys there. And then I have Rashee Rice because I think he's I've been saying it all year that I think he's going to continue to get better. His role is going to continue to grow. His trust with Mahomes is going to continue to grow, which it has. And that's just going to lead into an outstanding sophomore season. So, DJ Moore, I think the Bears are going to get Caleb, and I think DJ Moore is only going to have the best throwing quarterback that he's ever had, and he's entering his prime. So, Brandon Ayuk on the best team in football. He's their wide receiver one. I just, how I feel about Ayuk. So I don't necessarily think where I have Puka is low. It's low to where you guys both have yours, but there's no guarantee that Puka is going to come out and be a wide receiver one next year. He had an incredible season and all signs are pointing to that, but we don't know what that offense is going to look like. Stafford's a year older. We assume it's going to be really good, and Kyron and everything's going to work well for the Rams. But I don't know that. Again, my ranking is too low for him, but it's going to look a lot different when we see how things shake out. So I don't know if that's even a good response, but.
No, I see where you're saying. It's definitely not too low. I think it is lower than consensus on where Puka would be at this point in time. But I get what you're saying.
Maybe. I have no idea. Have you looked at other people's rankings? Because I honestly didn't, and I don't know what the consensus would be. So I literally don't know. But again, Puka Nacua. Top 6, 7. That's to me at his ceiling, especially talent wise, at his ceiling. So, I think I'd probably say mine is relatively average to his skill set and where I have him just based on teams wide receiver ones,
Yeah.
It's still a top third of wide receiver ones. Not fantasy football wide receiver ones, but team wide receiver ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Someone you mentioned, DJ Moore, calls me and you were right this year. Early on in the offseason, we said he was going to have his career best in basically every statistical category, and he did.
That was one of my predictions.
Yeah, that was great to see.
Reception.
But Shane, you have him down at 13. You have him outside the top 12. What's going on there?
It's similar to Kulz got with Nacua. It's just the guys in front of him. The only guy I could see maybe flipping him for, and this may happen as the year goes on, is Diggs.
I was going to say Diggs.
Diggs would probably be the guy that might slip down based off of just how he's finished now 2 years in a row. I'm also thinking probably Chicago brings in a very high draft pick at number 9, a stud receiver, maybe Neighbors or somebody like that, or a high profile.
Don't say that.
I just think they're going to bring in a decent level number 2 wide receiver because they have not gotten consistent good production out of a number 2 receiver there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Just don't say that.
I do agree with you. I think they do draft one of these rookie wide receivers. This class is stacked, and I think it would bode well for the organization.
It's going to be Rome Odunze, and it's going to piss me off, and he's going to be a bust.
I don't think so.
Because you don't think Neighbors will slip to 9?
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either. I really don't. I think Neighbors will get snatched up prior to 9. But
again, early speculation, and anything can happen as the draft. Prospects start to show up to pro days, things like that. But Neighbors is elite. So he's just I saw a thing
Harrison,
Neighbors, and everyone else. So
the stats last year between Neighbors and Harrison are almost the exact same.
Yeah, Harrison's got the name. He's got kind of the look too, and LSU players right now. Obviously, the receivers are crazy good, and the hype should be higher for him because of that. But because Marvin Harrison has that name, and he looks, he's he's the Predator. He's just a beast. He. But Neighbors is I was saying, better than Jefferson for sure, and maybe at Chase, if not like right at Chase level of LSU talent. Better than Odell, better than Jefferson. Like for me, he's like probably number 2 at LSU that I've seen outside of Chase, which like Chase also had Burrow. So that was just like the greatest 1-2 that we've seen, and the national championship and all the accolades along with it. But Neighbors, like, he is that good. He's a full tool wide receiver. He's runs incredible routes, is a possession receiver, but also has that home run hitting ability. Like, he's going to be an absolute beast in the NFL. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It sucks though, because Bears are going to end up like wanting to go wide receiver there and missing out on a Neighbors and getting a Rome Odunze, who like we think is good because of the year he had last year, but he's not Neighbors. I don't think he's top 10. Like, I think it's wide receivers are going to be very trendy and very hot, so they're going to grab him, but he's not going to be a top 10 pick. I just know that he's not, would he have gone in front of JSN and those guys? Like, probably not.
So, no, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Like, yeah, I can see him being the Quentin Johnson of the draft, and that's would be tough for a Bears team. A Bears team that cannot
shut your mouth, Mike.
You know what I mean?
Oh God. All right. Well, let's stick to this 2024 ranking. We'll talk more about the rookies in a later episode. Can't wait for that. But Shane,
I'd like one more thing. Sorry,
yeah.
I would like to draft. Like, if I was a Bears, I would like to trade back and get Keon Coleman if his if that's going to be they want one of these first round receivers, I would much rather trade back, add assets, add Keon Coleman than stretch on Odunze.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I like Keon Coleman. They're very similar in my opinion. I think he's going to be really good. So, all right, let's talk this ranking we got here in front of us. We got Shane. You're the highest on Michael Pittman. You have him at 10, rounding out your top 10. I'm very similar. I got him at 11. Mike, you're down at 14. Shane, do you have anything about Michael Pittman? Because I found it like I wanted to move him down. I wanted to keep putting him further down my rankings. But talk to me about Pittman.
Yeah, I just love first of all, I think he comes back to the Colts. I don't think they're letting him go with Anthony Richardson. He is just a target monster hog. And if you're in PPR leagues, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, 9 games, he saw double-digit targets. I think he had 10 or 11 games where he had at least 8 catches. So that alone is such a high, consistent floor. And then, like, he's bound to see some positive touchdown numbers this year. Like, he only had 4 this past year. That's got to bump up. You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of St. Brown last year. Going into the drafts, everybody talked about his lack of touchdowns because I think he had 4 the year before, and he made that jump to like 9 this year. Like, I could see that with Pittman. So if Pittman goes from 4 to 9 and his catch numbers and volume is about the same, now you're looking at a top 10 receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you there. Had over 100 receptions this year, 109, 1,100 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Finished as the wide receiver 25. And I think for me, why I kept wanting to put him down is just the small sample size we got with him and Richardson. He did the majority of his work with Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball, who, say what you want about him, but he's a gunslinger. And Richardson, in that small sample size, I know he just didn't complete many passes. I think he had one game with like 11 completions. So I'm curious to see how that plays out on a season-long basis. But I do think Pittman's talent is there, and he is a target hog, and he will have a large target share. So that's kind of why I have him at 11. But Mike, you got anything on Mike Pittman?
Yeah, I moved him to 14, which I didn't mean to. I probably shouldn't have moved him as far up as I did. I had him at 23, and I think that was too low on him, so I bumped him up because I do like Pittman. Like, he's one of these guys who I think he's an incredible talent, just like Drake London. I have Drake London at 14 right now because of the talent that I believe in. So that's how I feel about Pittman. That being said, I'm not a believer in Anthony Richardson, so I could probably see myself pushing him down lower, kind of thinking, and I'm probably going to be wrong, to be honest. I don't know. This is going to be one that moves next season because I can probably see myself fading the Colts because I don't like Richardson, but they did sign Jonathan Taylor, and I am going to want to be high on Taylor because of his talent also. Like, I love all of these skill players on the Colts. I love Downs. I was high on Downs.
Josh Downs.
He was
played
one of my
really
guys.
well this year.
Yeah, he was one of my guys. I go to the same dentist as Alec Pierce, so I can't really not like him. But yeah, no, I like those Colts players. I just have that issue with Richardson. So will I get over that? Probably not. I don't have anything bad to say about Pittman. I think his talent's incredible. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, someone I have extremely way too low that I should probably bump up now as we speak is Rashee Rice. I haven't done it 21. You guys have Rashee at 9 and 8. I could realistically right now bump him up inside the top 15. I don't know if I could put him inside my top 10. And Shane, a lot of that is for the reasons why you have DJ Moore a little bit lower. And I do think the Chiefs draft another receiver. We've seen them do this year after year. They take a first-round wide receiver. They definitely need to with their all their troubles they had this year with drops and stuff. So I could see that room getting a little bit muddier with another receiver, and they're probably going to grab someone good. So is Kelsey going to retire? I don't know. If he does, I'll probably bump Rashee Rice even higher. But I don't know. I'm worried about him having the same production he had at the end of the year going into next year.
He was like top 3 at the end of the year.
What in the last like 6
last
weeks?
like 4 or 5 weeks? Yeah, he was wide receiver 3.
Yeah. End of the year is wide receiver 27, 79 catches, 900 yards, 7 touchdowns.
And I will think that's a win if they just draft somebody, as long as they don't bring in a T. Higgins or Mike Evans.
I agree. I was going to say
if they draft somebody, that's a win for Rashee Rice, because whoever they draft is not going to make a huge dent for the first half of the season, at least.
Yeah. Well, they're also saying like an Xavier Worthy type, like, so he's not even, he's your, Tank Dell 2.0. He's not, Rashee's the outside guy, movement of the slot at times. And then your Zay Flowers, Tank Dell is Worthy, which like may take some targets away. But no, I mean, the chemistry that Rashee Rice has built with Mahomes over the course of this year and what we're about to see on Sunday, like if they go to a Super Bowl, like it's only getting every snap that they play together and play that Rashee Rice makes, he's becoming that guy for Mahomes. So, like Shane's saying, unless they bring in a Mike Evans who like is just going to be a target hog for him because it's Mike Evans, Rashee Rice is going to have an outstanding role. He looks so good catching the ball too. Like
he does.
His yak is just, he's so smooth with the ball that like he's going to be, if they bring in someone like that, Shane, like a Mike Evans, I could probably move him outside of my top 10, but maybe not outside of my top 15. And they could have, 2 guys in the top 15, top 20 heading into next year with Pat Mahomes throwing the ball and, Kelsey maybe having a much, much more limited role. But again, draft's going to matter because I think Truck's right. I don't know that they sign Evans knowing that he wants to get paid. I do think it's a possibility that they bring in one of these rookies and continue to grow like a young core around Mahomes. So it'll be exciting. I'm so fucking excited for the NFL draft this year.
Well, and there's also there's a really strong track record of rookie wide receivers who have gone over 900 yards in year 1, and then that leap in year 2. I mean, it's almost like a 90% hit rate.
Yeah, and it's the most like logical explanation is catching the ball from a quarterback, right? Like that built up chemistry means so much. Like knowing that they're going to be there without when you start making those types of plays, that's why your numbers astronomically grow, is because you're able to be that Cooper Kupp type receiver that he just knows you're going to be in that space when it develops. So the quarterback can just throw the ball there already trusting that you're going to be there. Like that takes time, right? That type of chemistry. So that's the explanation for that year 2 jump, a full off season and a full year of chemistry built up. It makes things just kind of take off like a rocket ship for sure.
Yeah.
Totally off topic. Something that I looked up while Shane was talking earlier, and we were talking about Keon Coleman. It was only 2 years ago that he was on Michigan State, and he was the top receiver next to Jaden Reed. That's, I liked his talent got better. He just looked better at Florida State, but it was only 2 years ago that he was, the guy on a Jaden Reed also filled offense. So I think he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk. There was a name, Kulz. I was looking on your list. I didn't see him. Keenan Allen. Do you have him? How far down do you have Keenan Allen?
23.
Okay. Let's see. I have him at 16. Shane is at 16 as well. So, the Chargers getting Harbaugh. Keenan Allen is the wide receiver 1 there. What's going on with your ranking?
I just never really care about Keenan Allen. He's like 35 years old, and I'm not going to have anything to comment on the Chargers. I'll probably have Herbert in my top 5, and I'll want to have Chargers on my team. I just don't think the Chargers are going to look anything that they look like today, so I have no comment. I almost left him off my rankings like I did Davante Adams. I am going to leave him off my rankings.
Okay. Yeah, and Davante Adams. That was another name I was looking for. You talk about talent when building these rankings. And
you got him at 10?
I have Davante Adams at 10. If you saw what he – okay, so Davante Adams put up 103 receptions, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns with Aiden O'Connell.
Who's going to be their quarterback next year?
I don't know, but I think it's going to be better than Aiden O'Connell. And Davante Adams is still, without a doubt, one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL, regardless of his age. I think he's that good, and I think they improved the quarterback situation at the Raiders, and Davante is going to have a better year than he had this year. He ended up as wide receiver 14. Like I said, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. It's Davante Adams. He's still really, really good.
Yeah, I think for me, the quarterback, and then he's on the wrong side of 30 for wide receivers in fantasy. There's not a lot of them that bounce back, but I don't know. If it is Aiden O'Connell, I don't know if he could go 2 years in a row.
If it is Aiden O'Connell, in fact, and they don't do anything to improve that situation, I will be moving him down. But I am set on the fact that they will get another quarterback in there. Aiden O'Connell will not be the guy for next season.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just not going to put him on my rankings because I don't know who's quarterback. And, yeah, I think he's I have him in my brain right now as DeAndre Hopkins of the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, okay. That's not a bad analogy call. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
And that's coming from a guy who's having his flu game. So.
All right. Shane, where do you have Drake London at 23?
I thought I was high on putting him there because I'm the same way. I honestly think that he is a really good receiver. I really do.
Yeah.
He's top tier talent.
Yeah, I do think that. And so he'll be one that will, let's just play hypothetical. If Kirk Cousins goes there, Drake London is going to leapfrog a bunch of guys.
Dude, can you imagine?
Oh my God.
He'll be my most drafted player next year.
Like
if Kirk Cousins goes there.
If he goes, he'll come up where Chris Olave is probably in my rankings if that were to happen.
Yeah, I mean, even like a Jaden Daniels, if he goes to the Falcons, I could see myself putting him in my top 10. Someone that can throw the football and a offensive coordinator that gets the skill position players the ball, then you're going to see a lot of Falcons on my fantasy teams next year.
Yeah.
As long as the hype doesn't get too big. I mean, it's all about value, right? You have to look at it like that. So,
find the best value pockets.
Well, yeah, Shane, I mean, and then you have to have your idea of like how high do you think what is this guy stealing? So, you could be high on someone and draft them as a wide receiver 1. But, you don't want to get crazy, which we've seen with some of these teams that have insane hype heading into the season.
Yeah. Shane, I was going to mention you have Chris Olave, someone you just talked about, at 14. I have him down at 20. Mike is at 22. We have kind of a similar outlook on him. Why do you have him inside your top 15? Chris Olave finished as wide receiver 24, 87 catches, 1,100 yards, and 5 touchdowns on the season.
So he's the same way. He's similar to Drake London. Like, I think talent-wise, he's one of the better receivers out there. He is just limited with Derek Carr back there, and maybe Derek Carr is going to be back again because they brought back Dennis Allen.
That's why I have him ranked so low, is because I think Carr is back, and we're going to see a very similar season that we saw.
If they run it back with the same group, then I'll lower him because his red zone targets are limited, his touchdowns are limited. I think talent-wise, he's a top 15 talent, but he'll drop down. Like I said, he could swap places with Drake London real quick this offseason.
Yeah. Fair. Fair.
I think that's the same. I mean, I just think that the Saints are going to be a dead team with Carr and an old Alvin Kamara. And anyways, I think someone we're talking about, Stefon Diggs. Like,
oh God, this is a hot topic since after the Bills lost to the Chiefs in that divisional round,
which that's just because of that, right? But it should have been a hot topic for weeks before that. He just hasn't been good since very early in the season.
Yeah, he was really good early in the season, and that helped him get to finish as wide receiver 12 on the year, 107 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Still top of the league in targets. I think he was top 6, had 160 targets. So it's not like he wasn't getting the work that he normally gets. And do you guys have any explanation as to why he absolutely fell off a cliff?
And he's a huge bitch. I think it's a lot to do with character.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people say. He's a cancer to whatever team he's on. I have a real good buddy of mine is a Vikings fan.
You just can't be that way. You just can't be that way and then drop that ball that you dropped in that game.
Yeah.
Like, when you play against Pat Mahomes, you need to make big home run. That was an incredible throw by Allen. Like, I don't think enough people gave Josh Allen credit for, you hear all the bad and the turnovers and the bullshit like that, but like, he played incredible down the stretch, and that throw was, one of the best throws we've seen all year. Put it right on his hands, and he dropped that ball. Like, you can't be a little bitch thinking you're the best and then come up like this. Like, he's so frustrating. I have him at 16, and I don't know where he's going to end up. I don't know what's going on there with the Bills, but I just don't think he's the same receiver as he was. Once you see that talent decline a little bit, he is just, like you said, all that attitude and stuff that comes with it. It's harder to swallow that.
Do you guys think the Bills run it back with the same core they have right now?
It looks like it. I mean, I think Joe Brady's the OC again. I think he's coming back as OC. I think they liked what they got out of that team with the last 7 games.
Yeah,
with a healthy defense, they probably win the Super Bowl, or they're in the Super Bowl. Like,
yes, absolutely, with Mike Milano and
Trey White.
Yes.
You could probably try to figure out a way to get rid of Von Miller in that contract. He ended up being a total bust. I mean, injury, of course, is what derailed him, but like their defense is solid when healthy. So, I think next year Milano's healthy, who's an outstanding linebacker, and then you also have Bernard, who stepped up massive. That defense could be, even stronger. And if they had a better defense, they win that game for sure.
Well, so my point in bringing that up is, Kulz, I know you like to talk about finding people that burned you, that could possibly be of value. So say the situation stays the same with the pass catchers, they don't add anybody or change anything. Could Stefon Diggs actually be a value at the next year's draft based on where people are going to draft him, because he absolutely burned everybody at the end of the year?
I just don't know if he's that good anymore, is what it is. Like, he's not performing at a high level. So, like, in order for him to be one of those guys, he has to perform at that elite level again, because he's still going to be drafted in the top 15. And if he's not a top 5 guy, he's just not worth drafting. Like, you're probably going to swing and a miss, I would think.
I'm surprised he finished so high at 12. Like, he's
he
the
never
only
got
one.
Injured.
Yeah, he's not injured, and he had
the
first half of the year was pretty good, right? It's 2 years in a row where it's the second half dip, but his first half was pretty elite.
He's the only wide receiver in the top 16 to have fewer than 10 fantasy points per game. So I don't get that. Like, I don't understand how he still finished inside the top 12. Like, was his first half of the season that good?
Just didn't get hurt. He only had 2 games with 10 plus receptions. Like, in today's NFL, that's not that good.
No.
CD probably had fucking more games than not with double digits. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, So I don't know. I just don't think the talent is at the level that it was. So who do the Bills bring in to offset that? Probably someone, unless they think Shakir is going to have that big of a step up next year. Kincaid's obviously going to be huge, but you need that like big time receiver, that number 1 receiver. And I don't think it's Diggs anymore. So who are they going to bring in,
Yeah. Let's talk about these next 3 in a little group here, because they're all very similar. That's T. Higgins, Davante Smith, and Jaylen Waddle. Shane, you have Smith, Higgins, Waddle back to back in your 19, 20, and 21. Let's see. I have Waddle, Smith, and do I have Higgins back to back?
We all do. No.
Oh, okay. I have Cup in front of Higgins, but so what do you guys have to talk about these 3? I know these 3 were drafted very, very high in this year's draft, and that seemed to be a mistake. So what does that look like going into next year?
So Waddle, for me, could be a little bit of personal bias. I had him in a lot of leagues this year. Like, he was somebody I heavily targeted at the early 3rd round turn of drafts.
Yeah.
And I watched him in just game after game. It would be these little nagging injuries he would leave with. And he's in and out. And he's in and out. So this could be one of those for sure guys that people discount because of disappointment. And he has a nice bounce back year because he didn't get a lot of those red zone and touchdowns this year that, he probably should have. I think there could be a coming down for Tyreek and a coming up for Waddle.
Okay, that makes sense.
I was going to completely agree with you that we were just talking about guys who burned that come back and there's value. Like he's probably the perfect example for me.
Yeah, he ended up as wide receiver 31, 70 receptions, over 1,000 yards still, and 4 touchdowns.
I'll definitely. He's going to be heavily owned for me next year. He's going to have double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, the talent's there. The offense is really good, and
another Alabama receiver that
getting older.
Another Alabama receiver that I know I'm going to have a ton of is John Mechie.
Oh, drafting a lot of Mechie, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did talk about him quite a bit when we later on in the draft season when we were doing underdog.
Yeah, and I liked what I saw from him the last couple games. So,
yeah.
And then of course Amari Cooper. I mean, how can you not? No, I'm just kidding. I want to see your Shane's reaction.
Yeah, that's a great segue. Let's talk about Amari
Cooper.
Let's
talk about. It's worth talking about Higgins and Davante. We just covered Waddle, but
okay, yeah, no,
let's finish that conversation first. T Higgins, where does he end up? I think that's a huge conversation. And is it Cincinnati? I think not. What do you guys think?
I don't think so either.
I would put my money on no. He does not come back to Cincinnati.
I could see him going to the Panthers. You talked about Evans, Canales bringing in Evans. The Panthers would be somewhere that makes a lot of sense to me. His ranking is going to matter on where he ends up, and how much of a believer you are in him as a wide receiver one. Because he's going to have to step into that role next year. So is he that guy? Yes or no? If your answer is yes, then he should probably be someone that you look at targeting very, very heavily. If you do not, then fade him. He's going to be someone that you should either be all over or completely off.
I will be completely off if he goes to the Panthers. I just don't have faith in him.
But what about if it's somewhere I don't want to say the Chiefs because obviously it's a whole different story, but
that is
somewhere where he has to be, he is the number one guy.
What about if he takes over Mike Evans' role?
Mike Evans' spot. Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. So Tampa Bay, he's the wide receiver one there. Are you on or off? Because all I'm trying to say is he's a guy that situation's going to matter, but he's going to be brought in as a wide receiver one. He thinks that's the type of person he is, and that's the type of contract he wants. So that's what someone's going to bring him in to fill that role.
Yeah.
If you believe in his talent, and you like the situation, then he should be someone that is going to be drafted in this, 15, 12 to 20 range. Let's just say it as a huge pocket that has the ability to be in the top 5. So, that's what you're going to be looking at with T Higgins. If you're a believer in his talent, if you're not as a number one huge target on your back type receiver, then fade him because, he's going to be drafted in an area where it's his outcome is going to be very big.
Yeah, it's he has a wide range of outcomes, definitely.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about Amari Cooper then. Mike, you have Amari Cooper. Where are you at? 21. I have him at 18. I'm higher than you. And
I will say, Truck, you're doing a really good job of my brain saying something and then just putting it in normal human being talking terms. So thank you.
Yeah, I take that as a compliment, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, you're getting really good at that. So it does the podcast wonders when that happens. Because
all right, wonderful. Shane, you have him all the way down at 27. We know that you hate Amari Cooper from this entire season, all those red light, green light episodes. The home road split. You've talked in length about it, but why do you have him down at 27? Is it just because you don't believe in Deshaun Watson? What's going on with Amari?
Before we go there, we're gonna have a therapy session, just like Truck had with DeAndre Swift. Shane, just kick your feet back. Get a pillow, rest your head. What is it with Amari Cooper?
He scarred me so many times on the road. I thought I could count on this guy in my life. And then he wasn't there for me. And that left me empty feeling inside. And so I haven't recovered from that.
This is really good. Thank you for sharing your feelings. What about being a Cowboy? What is the Homer Cowboy feelings? We need to dig a little deeper. What is it that he was your guy? He's no longer there. Is there any,
I just have this vivid memory of like him standing on the sideline at Philadelphia on a road game, not coming back into the game, just standing there with his hands on his hip, not hurt at all, but just standing there.
Okay, so that was your source of trauma. Okay,
yeah,
that's great.
Great. It makes. I just had an idea. We should do a segment, very similar to this, but Fantasy Anonymous, where you come up to the circles. Hey, my name's Ryan, and I drafted Miles Sanders this year, and so and then you just talk about how fantasy players completely,
fantasy confessions. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Fantasy confessions.
And let's get some music, some nice list, soft music for that.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think we're onto something there. That's funny.
Make note of fantasy confessions.
That is going to be a quality. That one's going straight on the Tim Talk.
Timmy Tommy Talk. Yep.
Oh god. All right. Well, I just think Amari Cooper is such a good receiver, extremely talented. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. And we saw that on display quite a bit this season. So I'm still believing in his talent. And I think Deshaun Watson is able to get him the ball enough to make him a top 20 wide receiver at the very least. So that's kind of where I
love that you just came up with that segment, because I am going to force you to do those. He texts me in a panic. He's like, I did it. I drafted Dameon Pierce. I hate him. I've been talking bad about him all year, and I came up in my draft and he was sitting there on the board, and
it was like 2 rounds. It was like 2 rounds after his ADP, and I'm like, draft.
He was on my do not draft list, and I did it.
Yeah.
You're going to be sent straight to the Barstool Confessions.
Yeah, that's funny.
Or the fantasy confession.
The fantasy convention or confessions.
Barstool did a Barstool Confessions at one point. That's what it reminded me of.
Okay.
So funny.
All right. So what do we got next? Do you guys see anything of noteworthy? I'm trying to look around. I'm scanning.
Terry McLaurin.
That was a name literally I just scanned.
I don't know why I'm high on him. I don't know that.
I was just going to say, Mike, I am shocked. You have him at 24. I have him at 31. Shane at 33. I mean, Terry McLaurin, if you're talking about just talented wide receivers, he is definitely top 20 talent.
Wait. Can you say his name right, though?
Terry McLaurin.
There you go.
Terry McLaurin.
Thank you.
Terry McLaurin is with top 20 talent for me. He is really, really good. And you saw it too. Once Jacoby Brissett came in for Sam Howell, Terry McLaurin just went on an absolute rampage with Brissett, and that's with Jacoby Brissett. So like, there's going to be a quarterback switch in Commanders. I don't think it's Howell or Brissett. They're going to get someone competent, whether it's a rookie or whoever the case may be. I feel like it's an upgrade. And Terry McLaurin's just that good of a wide receiver where, he still had over 1,000 yards this year. Like, he just figures out a way to get over 1,000 yards even when he's pretty quiet. Ended up as a wide receiver 33, only 4 touchdowns. So that I think his numbers vastly improved next year. And I'm looking forward to that. But I should be higher on him apparently, because I have him down at 31.
Yeah, I don't know why I have him there. I think he's a good player, but I don't really honestly, for some reason, I don't think he's going to be on the Commanders. I don't really know what to think with that team. So, he's probably not going to be that high if he ends up on the Commanders next year. I don't know. I mean, like, if they draft Drake May, I'm probably out on Commanders next year. If they draft Jaden Daniels, is Coach B going to even be there?
I can't see him being there. Can you guys? If Ben Johnson comes there?
Yeah, I don't see it either.
I don't think so, but who knows?
Like, will Coach B go to the Falcons? Give him Jaden Daniels and all those weapons with Raheem Morris. I'd love it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I don't see him on the Commanders if Ben Johnson, which Ben Johnson is going there, right? That's
pretty much been said. Yeah,
pretty much been said. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be there, right?
I don't think so. Could it be? Could it be the Chiefs win the Super Bowl? Andy Reid retires, and then Coach B, slides right back in.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I can't see Reid retiring right now. I don't know.
There's a lot of talks that he is, so who knows?
Have you heard the rumors about Travis Kelce retiring alongside his brother this year, and that Jason's just waiting to announce it with Travis after they lose?
I could see that.
Just the fucking drama boys.
The way he was talking, weeks ago about injuries and hurting more. I mean, he sounded like a guy who's thinking that.
Like, I don't know. I mean, what happens? I feel like Kelce could continue to play, so, I mean, he's living this whole celebrity lifestyle now, which could change his priorities a little bit. But, like, in order to stay in the true limelight, he needs to be on the football field. Like, yeah, he can, like, be behind a desk. It's not the same, dude. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
yeah.
Not the same. So, he's going to be in Super Bowls or playing in NFC. 6 seasons of Mahomes being a starting quarterback in 6 AFC championships. Like, if he knows he's going to slide in and be in the AFC championship again next year, which, if the team continues to get better, there's no reason they're not in that conversation. So, like, he's going to play.
Would you say his chances of retiring increase if they win the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, but I think that's with anyone, anyone. Look at Brady. Like, we all thought he would have gone out on top. He came back, I don't know that. I think that's more just like fairy tale that we talk about in the media as opposed to like how much it plays into their decision,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know about you guys, but I really struggled from after Zay Flowers in my rankings, that 29 to 36. Like, I really struggled with those.
Yeah, I kind of was throwing people in there to
definitely a tier break there. Definitely a tier break. I do have Jordan Addison in there. I really liked what I saw from him. He was like top 6 in touchdowns scored this year. Obviously, with Justin Jefferson not playing, that's a huge factor of it. But for me,
so my issue with you saying that is you said you didn't have Jefferson higher than 4 because of the quarterback situation.
Correct.
But then now that you like Addison so much that it doesn't matter about the quarterback situation?
No, I just like what I saw from Addison this year as a rookie wide receiver. And like Shane said, those rookie wide receivers, once they hit that certain threshold, they literally catapult into the second year. And I do think Jordan Addison does improve off of this year that he had. And I think regardless of the quarterback situation, Addison's going to be a top 36 wide receiver, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. These guys towards the end, I just was throwing like people in there. I mean, Calvin Ridley, who knows where he's going to be. Hollywood Brown could be a wide receiver too, the third option on the Cardinals with McBride and Harrison Jr.
Well, he's a free agent too. Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I think they would bring him back. I think from my understanding, he's happy there. And does Hollywood Brown want to be a wide receiver one?
He never really seemed like that to me. Like, he just seemed like one of those players that is just a great wide receiver too.
Loves reliable, having fun, catching balls. Like, the guy you want. He's probably a good locker room guy. Like, I could see him being like not taking wide. He's not going to go hounding wide receiver one money, and that's just the vibe I get from him as well. So
what I struggled with, I'd get your guys' thoughts. I really struggled with the two Packers guys because I think Christian Watson is a great receiver. I think he had really bad injury luck, but I really also love the way they use Jayden Reed, like in a variety of ways.
Yeah, that was tough for me too. I put Jayden at 30. We're all very similar there. Mike, you have him a little bit higher at 25, but I do think Jayden Reed showed enough that he is going to be the wide receiver that you want to target next year in the draft. With his rushing upside, is just a big playability, and I just liked what I saw from him. But Christian Watson is so talented that he could easily be the number one wide receiver at the end of the year when we're talking at this time next year. So I just like Jayden Reed. I'll probably be going with him. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think I like him more than the other two.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a really good take on this one. I love Jayden Reed. I think he's going to be, like that Tank Dell role where they just want to get him the ball any way they can. So they'll be really creative in that, and his touches will be outstanding. And then Watson, I won't be drafting him at all, because he's boom bust and he's very injury dependent, and he's one of those guys that gets so injured that I can't trust him. I'm not one of those people that a fluke injury doesn't scare me away. Even McCaffrey, I was never super turned off from McCaffrey, even though he was arguably very injury prone. But to me, that was more usage. But Christian Watson pulling a hammy is going to be something that I always think about if I were to have him on the team. So, and then Dobbs steps in, and he had a great game in the playoff, 2 great games in the playoffs. So Christian Watson.
Plus, they got Wicks.
Yeah, Dontavian Wicks looks good. Yeah,
I've always really liked. He's just there's a lot of young weapons there that if he can't stay on the field, they're just going to kind of move on almost.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know. And then Pickens, Deontay Johnson, those are 2 that could be so much higher. Does Russell Wilson go to the Steelers, or is it Kirk Cousins? They're going to bring in someone new and someone that's good because they know they have a championship window with that defense right now. They do. The defense with TJ Watt playing at that level, that's a championship defense, right? And then say what you want about Najee, but him and Jaylen Warren as a 1-2 combo is one of the better backfields. And then you have these talented wide receivers that you just can't get the ball. So that is a quarterback away from being a top team in the AFC. It's crazy to say, but that's how good TJ Watt, Highsmith, Cam Hayward he's one of those guys that will play at a championship level if they're, circling that type of season. So Minka Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter, if he improves in a second year, that's a defense that if they know Tomlin's a good enough coach that he's I feel this team can do something special. Let's go get a really good quarterback. So those are 2 guys that I have towards the end of my top 36, but they could be moved up pretty significantly.
Yeah. Someone we should talk about is Tank Dell. You guys have Tank Dell at 28, Mike. You have him in there. Shane, you have him at 26. I have him up at 18, 19 range.
I thought you were just about to say 8. I was like,
no.
You do love Tank.
No. I love Tank Dell, but not that much. From what we saw from him this year and the Texans as a whole, I think once Tank Dell comes back next year, he's just going to be a force to be reckoned with. 17 receptions over 20 yards or more. He had 700 yards, only played 11 games. He was on pace for over 1,000 yards and over 10 touchdowns. And I just think he looked like a really, really good rookie wide receiver, and he takes that step up next year with the second-year players. So that's why I probably have him a little too high. I should probably drop him down to right around the 22, 23 range. But I really, really like Tank Dell, and I'm probably going to have him on a lot of teams next year.
Yeah, I like him. He's just small, 165 pounds.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and I don't think, I'm not the doctor here, but like a broken tibia is not as worrisome as like an ACL tear or anything like, or a Achilles. So I think, I don't think you have to worry too much about that when he's coming back, this offseason.
It's durability. It's just being that small. He's going to have to really pick his spots with where he's going to get hit.
Well, and let's not maybe use him on a goal line blocking scheme play.
Let's not do that. That was a terrible idea. All right, how about this?
Is Slowick going to get one of those jobs, one of those last two jobs?
I don't think so. I think he's coming back, which is great news.
Great
for
them.
Yeah. One guy I want to hear from you guys, because I kept him outside my top 36, but I was very, very close to putting him somewhere at the very bottom. But Jaxon Smith-Njigba played all 17 games this year, was the wide receiver 51, ended up with 600 yards, 63 receptions, and 4 touchdowns. Why do you guys have him at 31 inside your top 36? Is it just pure talent? But
it's just putting his name's too good not to have on the list, and that team is going to also have another quarterback, so a new head coach. So all of that's going to matter on where he shakes out. DK
and Tyler Lockett are both still under contract there, right? They're not going anywhere.
They are, and I think two things. Like, it was kind of an oddity that how much Lockett and DK stayed healthy all year, and I have a feeling that they may look to shake some cap room with Lockett and
100%
make a cut with a 32-year-old receiver with a new head coach coming in.
100%. I completely agree. So yeah, I completely agree with that. So that's why you don't see Lockett, why you do see JSN. Obviously I had DK at number 8, thinking that they're gonna have a new quarterback in there. So, if he's getting drafted outside the top 10, I'm gonna be all over DK. I think he's physically, there's not many guys that can catch a slant and take it to the house that we saw him do multiple times this year. There's just not the way that defenses and how good they are. It's really, really hard to do that. And he's one of the physical specimens that is talented enough to do that. So if you get a good pass thrower in there, it's going to unlock Metcalf. He's one of those guys kind of like AJ Brown, to where his attitude is, when things aren't going well, you see it. That's
Shane. Where do you have DK?
I think he's in my top 20. I think.
I don't see him.
24.
Oh, he's at 24. Yeah,
so
I'm at 22, so that's why I was curious. Yeah, I'd probably move him up depending on their quarterback situation. You're absolutely right. He has the talent to be able to house a slant, and he's one of the biggest physical freaks in the NFL. So in the right situation, I could definitely move him up easily, but I don't know if I'd put him inside the top 10.
What would make me nervous is the mock draft I saw this week, which had Seattle taking JJ McCarthy. And if whoever comes in as their head coach wants to have McCarthy starting from day one, that's probably the only thing that makes me nervous.
I thought they were targeting Penix.
He might not even be drafted.
Oh, really?
There's a good chance that he goes undrafted.
Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where his fall. That's where his fall has come to. He is older than Justin Fields.
Yeah, he is. He is definitely older than Justin Fields, and I get the criticism. I just I saw the mock drafts. I saw. I was trying to look at maybe like a month ago, maybe not even a month ago, but it had Penix all over the place with Seattle.
Yeah, his a month ago is not today. I'll say that. He
of course, yeah.
Mock draft. I'm pretty sure I saw that, like, there's a chance that scouts think Michael Penix Jr. could shockingly go undrafted.
Wow.
So will he? Probably not. Someone will take like a late round stab at him, but people aren't. He's not going to be drafted in the first 2 days. And I think we're going to see that after the combine. He's a 25-year-old quarterback that like was in a pass happy offense in the Pac-12. And then we saw him in a, against a real defense in Michigan and just look fucking horrible.
Well, yeah, he had great receivers too.
He's shitty version of Tua, like a shitty version of Tua.
Yeah.
Because if you get to him at all and fluster him, the ball's nowhere near. He looked incredible against Texas, and then he looked horrible against Michigan. And in the NFL, with how fast the game is, I think that's going to be the huge knock on him, is like he's just not going to translate at all because the game's so much faster. And whenever it's sped up in college, he couldn't throw or deliver. So, I think has no career in the NFL.
Yeah.
If he was good, that would be awesome because his arm's crazy. He does have a powerful arm, but I think it's going to be one of those things where like his mentality and he just doesn't translate to the NFL from how quickly he sees everything develop.
And how fast he gets flustered.
Yeah, so I mean, like JJ McCarthy to the Seattle, Shane's right. That would put me, DK would be outside of my top 25. He would be on my do not draft list. So I literally put DK that high because I can make an argument that he is more talented than every receiver that I have behind him from a pure talent standpoint.
Yeah.
Like physically,
that's
better
something I can agree with.
Superior to all of them. So that's the only reason I put him there. Not that I think his situation is going to be great. I mean, I was hoping Slowick or someone like that would end up going to this Seattle because I think that's a fun division and they have a lot of very good pieces that could be huge fantasy pieces in JSN, in DK, in we didn't Charbonneau wasn't what everyone thought he was going to be, but Ken Walker, they have pieces that if you get a fun offense, they could be really fun team to have in fantasy. It's just Geno Smith and Horsecock lock.
All right. Well, I think that about does it here for the Fantasy Roadshow. Those were the 2024 early rankings for wide receivers. This list will be constantly updated throughout the offseason as we get more information on landing spots for quarterbacks and the draft that's coming up soon. We got about 12 weeks to the NFL draft. I'm starting counting down, man. I cannot wait. This draft is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk wide receivers. To be honest, I don't get too excited about talking rookies, just because there's so many different factors to whether they translate to the NFL or not. But
it's a total
wide receiver is
crapshoot.
Wide receiver is for example, running backs this year. I'm not going to be doing any talent evaluation.
There's a lot of good ones I like. I'm just going to say that.
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of.
I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about them. There's already some that I've been scouting a little bit, watching some tape on, and
I couldn't agree. I couldn't disagree more. I think it's just like running backs. I don't. I'm not going to have much to say during that episode. For wide receivers, I think this is a really deep, fun wide receiver class. So, I think there's a lot to talk about there. But, the tight ends, it's really Bowers and JT Sanders are going to be the only two to talk about. So, I'm excited to talk about the wide receivers. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I agree.
But, let's talk the championship games this weekend.
Well, this episode will be coming out on the Monday after the championship games are played. So we will be going live at some point.
Let's do that.
At this episode is released, we have already gone live. So if you're watching this now, go check out our live we did in talks about the the championship games this weekend between the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Lions and the 49ers. So
yeah, it's my bad. I forgot about that.
It's all good. It's all good. We record this, pre-recorded this. Today is January 25th. And yeah, so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, Shane, I hope you feel better. I appreciate you guys coming on and talking wide receivers. And next week, Monday, we will be talking tight ends. And then after that, we'll have a quick update on what we'll be doing after the tight ends. So be on the lookouts. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Check us out on all platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. We're there at Fantasy Roadshow. Make sure you go check out Rule 1 Proteins. They're the best supplement company in the planet. Go check them out. And other than that,
quick teaser, I have Dalton Kincaid, tight end 1. Let's go.
Oh, of course you do.
Of course.
Buckle up, everybody.